Welcome back. We're excited for another episode of In the Sand podcast. I'm super excited for you to be here today. As we begin college week, I'm excited to be able to kind of open up, the toolbox and learn some more from young ladies and young guys who are doing at a high level, and even some of our more seasoned college coaches. We're excited to be able to hear them. And I'm just grateful for all of the support that you continue to show In the Sand podcast. So again, continue to like, thumbs up, subscribe to this channel. I'm excited to have on Coach Wilson, of course, from Itawamba Community College. It's amazing to be able to just to have Coach, because I don't know if Coach knows it or not, but he's our first college coach. So we're excited to be able to just to open up with Coach. I met Coach one time. I met him through my brother, Justin Sanders. He's the one that kind of made this connection. And the time I met him, which I'm excited to talk to him about, he was working and doing skill development with two guys that was going to obviously play for him and his staff at ICC. And so I'm extremely excited to be able to pick his brain about skill development. His work ethic is amazing. That's one thing that Justin and I talked about before we did this interview. A lot of time, Justin and I, we chop it up before I do my interviews. And he said, man, Coach Wilson works hard, man. It kind of reminds me of my guy, Shane Butler, man. Shane Butler for SB Fitness, man. They have that same work ethic, that same energy, and they really enjoy training kids and doing it the right way. So I'm excited to have Coach Wilson on, man. Coach, welcome to the show, brother.
Man, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, sir, man. Again, I'm just excited. Of course, one day, man, hopefully I can get that college, experience under my belt and do the same thing, man. So it's amazing to see what you're doing in your assistant coaching role. And I know you can go and do bigger and better things. And so it's excited to be able to see that, Coach. So, Coach, before we kind of get into it and just get into what you're doing and just get into all of the great things that you have and that you're going to educate us with tonight and just share some knowledge, Coach, talk to us a little bit about where you are now, and we're gonna go back. We're gonna rewind back into your story. So I'm kind of changing the script up a little bit for those who
All
listen to
good.
the podcast regularly. So, Coach, talk to us about ICC and just your administration. Talk about some of your players, your staff, just the city. For those that are familiar with ICC, just kind of talk to us a little bit about that.
Man, Itawamba Community College is an awesome place to be. I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here. Our president here, Dr. Jay Allen, outstanding leader, and that just kind of trickles down to everyone up under him. Itawamba Community College has been voted the best junior college in the state of Mississippi 4 years in a row, and rightfully so. Great facilities, great faculty and staff. On the athletic side, our athletic director, Dr. Chad Case, excuse me. He's been tremendous as far as resources. Hey, coach, what do you all need? Can we help you with this? And I mean, pretty much whatever we ask for, they make it happen for us, or at least try to make it happen. We try to make a compromise to make it happen. Obviously, Coach Pate here, thankful, so grateful to him for giving me an opportunity at 24 years old to come in and help him kind of, get the program going back in the right direction. He's a guy that's battled a lot of adversity the last couple of years. He battled cancer, throat cancer, and I mean, tried to coach through it and obviously couldn't. At one point, he had missed the whole season due to throat cancer. And so they kind of set the program back a little bit. And I'm just thankful that he trusted me and Coach Haston, our other assistant coach, to come in and kind of just help change things around. As far as the players this year, man, we got a great group of guys. I mean, obviously they're talented, but man, I've never seen a team be this close. They sit together in the cafeteria. Man, they're always together off campus. Like I told you, we just left. They're out there playing 7-on-7 football, intramural sports with each other. Man, it's just the closest group I've ever been around as far as just loving each other. And it definitely translates to the court for us.
Coach, that's amazing. And that's one of the things that I don't know if those outside of sports understand. When you got a team that's that connected, that does so many things for your program and a lot of things you don't have to worry about. And that's one thing that you see, especially when you take coach different programs, or you take over different programs, or you if you think about when you were a player, some of the places you coach, the biggest thing is just getting kids to buy in and love each other.
Absolutely.
And some
Absolutely.
kids think it's corny, or they think it's like, why are we doing this? But they don't understand, the better you are with knowing each other off the court, it makes, man, it's like poetry in motion on the court, because kids, I know you. I know what makes you tick. I know what gets you going. I know how to encourage you. And when you got that, coach, and like you said, you got young men sitting in the cafeteria together and loving on each other, coach, that's amazing. You talked
And
about,
like
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was like, now, like I tell people all the time, I mean, it's 24 hours in a day. Practice may only be 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to get along with these dudes for 22 other hours of the day. They live in the dorms together. They're in class together. We're doing stuff together. Like, you got to be able to like each other when you're around each other that much. And like you said, it translates to the court. I apologize for cutting you off.
No, you ain't cut me off, coach. I like that you said that, because it really makes a difference. And I really hope my players are listening, other players are listening. Like, it's super important to be able to do that. Talk to us again, and we're kind of going back to this part. Coach, talk to us about why Coach Pate is a great coach. Of course, we talked with Senatobia, head high school coach, Coach Coleman, on what made Coach Pate an extremely good coach. So again, Coach, let's talk about your perspective on Coach Pate and what he's doing at ICC.
Man, he's just a top-notch man. Before we even go to the court, when it comes to X and O's, he's just a high-level guy. And he's just a great spirit, God-fearing man. He just loves people. He especially loves our guys. Like I said, we got guys that have been sick. He makes sure they get to the doctor, make sure they got food. We had a couple guys with COVID early on in the school year. I mean, we're taking food to the door. And it's not something he minds doing. He doesn't try to throw it off on one of us as an assistant coach or throw it off on manager. We've had guys break down on the side of the road. He's first one to go get them. We had guys run out of gas and be stuck on the side of the road. He goes and gets a gas can, fills it up, and then goes and fills up their car for him. And it's something he enjoys doing. He's got snack bags, and he's got a candy basket in his office that the guys know that they can come in whenever they want. They want candy, chips, peanut butter crackers. He keeps some stuff in the refrigerator for the guys. He keeps breakfast food sometimes, just little snack stuff that they can warm it up in the microwave. I just all around care for the guys, and not just because of what they can do for you on the basketball court, just because he really cares about kids. When it comes to academics, he takes pride in it. He's got a 94% graduation rate since he's been at Itawamba Community College. We're going on year 12. And I mean, that's at the junior college level. He's only had 3 guys that have not graduated under him that have played for him. And I mean, that's one of the most impressive stats I think you can have. Because that's at the end of the day, that's what's about, getting guys to the 4-year level and making sure academically that their progress is great. And it's not like guys are just taking, courses that don't matter just to make sure so we can say they graduated. Guys are taking courses that go toward their degree when they transfer to a 4-year school, and they're well prepared. He's really great with structure and organization. I mean, he's got so many files on his computer. I don't know how he keeps up with everything, but everything's organized. He knows where it is. There's a file for everything since he's been here. And then when it comes to, like I said, the day-to-day structure, there's breakfast check, there's class checks, there's being on time for this, being on time for that. Then there's curfew at night. And so the guys are just in so much structure, and it prepares them really well for not only going to the 4-year level, which is the goal, for all the guys that come to junior college basketball, but to make sure in life that they're prepared and they're held accountable. And I think he's a great leader of men. I think he's a great man. I enjoy working for him. Like I said, before we even talk about basketball stuff, like, he's just a great man.
Coach, to hear you say that validates, and I knew it anyway, but that validates what Coach Coleman said. Like, he echoes the exact same things. And of course, Coach Coleman worked for him, maybe 7, 8, maybe 10 years ago. And it's good to see Coach Pate be consistent with that. I talked with Coach Coleman on that episode. I said the only story that I really know about Coach Pate, of course, when he lost in the state championship game to Jim Hill. And of course, that's the only thing that I had to open up the conversation with. But again, he still was a gracious guy. I really enjoyed his 2-2-1. I'm not sure if he still runs it now. We may get into that a little bit later.
We do.
In high school, he was legendary for that. Gave your flowers to a lot of people, man. And now I'm going to get in because everybody probably said, come on, Coach, we want to hear what Coach Wilson got. Coach, talk to us about your journey, man. Talk to us about where you started and how did you get to this spot. And again, I'm so excited because, man, I watched you play Jackson State. Of course, both of us are alma mater. I tried to wear my Jackson State to represent you because I knew you was going to wear ICC. So I said, let me get up on my guy. So I'm excited just to hear your journey, man. So talk to us, Coach, about how did you get here to all of our fans watching.
So I'm from Brookhaven, played at Brookhaven High School 4 years. Then I played at Colin. And so while I was at Colin, obviously 5-10 minutes from Brookhaven. And so, junior college during that Christmas break, we get a whole month off in junior college. So we'll play our last game on like December 5th or December 8th. And when the school lets out for the last day of final exams, we may not bring our guys back until January 1, January 2. And so there's a month-long break right there in the middle of the year. And so I was back at home just kind of getting in the gym, working out and stuff like that. And at the time, Coach Flipping was the high school coach at Brookhaven High School. And he wasn't my coach, but he, saw me play and stuff the years before. And he had a sophomore post player named Kadarius Wells that was about 6'4", 6'5". You're very similar in body type because I was a post player in high school. I was tallest guy on the team. So I kind of played the 5, and I was the guy that kind of banged it out down low. And so he asked me to come work with him. And so that was really my first experience kind of with coaching and training and, doing the player development stuff like we talked about. And so I was working with him every day during Christmas break. And it got to the point, at first I started, I was sitting behind the bench at the Brookhaven games during Christmas break. Then I kind of worked my way to the end of the bench. And like it gets to the point, Coach Flippin's coming down, kind of asking me, like, Coach, what you think we need to do right here? He's calling me coach and stuff like that. And my father's a coach. My dad's the girls coach at Brookhaven High School. And so I had a father that was a coach as well. And my mom's a superintendent in Macomb School. So I just been around high school basketball my whole life. And so I kind of knew early, like, probably around 7th, 8th grade, I was like, I wanted to get into coaching. And so like I said, Coach Flippin kind of gave me my first opportunity. And then from there, I went back to Colin and played out the rest of my freshman season. But every home game, I would go back and I would sit on the bench. So I basically felt like I was kind of like a volunteer assistant coach for the rest of that season right there at Brookhaven High. And then that summer, he comes to me and is like, I want you to just coach the JV team. And so he gave me opportunity to just kind of do my own thing with the JV team. I ran practices. We were going to summer camps. During the summer, teams play about 30 games in the summer down in high school.
They do.
And so I was able to coach for about 30 games. And then I would sit on the bench, just kind of learning from him. And it got to the point where I would go just spend my whole day at Brookhaven High Gym. I'd get my workout in early that morning, then be there for the girls' practice with my dad and help him out a little bit, and then help out Coach Flippin and the boys' team. And that was really my first opportunity to get into coaching. Those 2 summers while I was at Colin. Then when I went to Jackson State, obviously, from Colin, I redshirted my first year. Then I played the next year, and that was the year COVID hit. We were on our way on the bus on the way to the SWAC tournament semifinals, and COVID hits. And so when COVID hit, my guy Thomas Snacks Lee, we were kind of just on the phone. Everybody was kind of sitting at the house. And Coach Brent's son, Cam, and some of his friends, they didn't have an AAU team to play for at the time because of COVID. And everybody was kind of shutting down. They weren't doing AAU, but they were starting to start back with tournaments. And you know how it is that junior summer going into your senior year, that's kind of summer where guys really, that's their last chance as far as getting recruited a lot of times. And so me and Snakes were just on the phone one day, and he had already been coaching AAU. Like I said, I had been coaching in Brookhaven. So we like, man, you want to just put a team in a tournament for the weekend? And so we come out the gate, and we didn't just put a team together. We ended up with Jalen Reed, Devin Reed, Cam Brent, Joseph Dupree, Jamal Esco. We got some dudes. And so we got some high-level dudes. And so we went from we had some old practice jerseys that we got from Jackson State that we were playing in. And from there, it kind of got going to where we started Snake Pecky League. And Snakes was able to use some of his endorsements and his fame at the time to get some money for our team. We were able to take them to some other states, especially in the South region because it was still COVID, so we were real cautious. But I was 21 and Snakes was 22 at the time. And we're taking 16 and 17-year-olds 8-10 hours away to go play in AAU tournaments. And it was really crazy to me that their parents really trusted us that much. But that was really kind of like that was what gave me the start. And so from there, like I said, I finished playing at Jackson State, got my master's and stuff like that in exercise science, and I did AAU. This will be my 4th year this summer going into AAU. And so like that's really, and last summer Coach Payton was looking for an assistant coach, and boom, we're here. So that's kind of the journey.
Coach, that's an amazing story to hear, man. And Coach, I didn't even know it was that detailed with you, man. I just assumed that you finished at Jackson State and obviously, just walked into just some things. But Coach, you have been laying your foundation early. When you were still a very, very young man, 18, 19 years old, Coach. And it's amazing to see your dedication. And now it makes sense. Like when I saw you at the gym working out with those 2 guys, and I'm sitting back from a distance because I'm an observer. I'm like, man, this young guy getting it, man. He working with these 2 guys. And I'm thinking like, man, he really trying to make a good impression, with Coach Payton, and he trying to do his thing. And those guys are highly talented kids. I saw when they played high school. And then I find out as I'm listening to this, man, you've been doing this for a while, man. And so to be able to still do your thing at Colin and then come back at Brookhaven, because I never thought you would have played power forward or center, but I get in high school, if you 6'2",
I have a choice.
you probably would be center, man. Because I get,
and it's crazy.
Yeah.
I tell people this all the time. I only attempted 2 threes my whole high school career, and I was 2 for 2. And then I get to Colin that first year, and I'm like, so I've been playing the 5, but now I'm 6'4". Same thing we all tell our kids, man, you're only 6'4". I know you're a post player right now, but you got to be a guard. And everybody had been telling me that. I had a really good mid-range jump shot, but I just never stepped out to the 3 just because that wasn't kind of my role on the team. And so then I get to college at Colin, they run a dribble drive offense, and I can't dribble. And so I'm like, well, the best way to get on the floor, I knew I could defend at a high level. I could guard a lot of positions. And I played really hard. I'm like, you got to be able to knock down open threes when guys beat people off the dribble. And so being at Colin, it was 5 minutes from my house. If I drove, how I drive, probably about 8, 9 minutes for real. But I was just right there. So I would go up all the time, and it was 500 shots in the morning, 500 shots in the evening, 500 shots in the morning. My high school teammate, Lazoria McNulty, we both signed to Colin together. And he's probably one of the hardest workers I've ever been around. I credit him with a lot of my work ethic, just because, he was a dude in high school. He was getting the janitor to open up the gym at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, so he'd come in and get work in. He was that guy, and he translated to the court for him. So when we got to Colin, I couldn't let him out work, man. We were roommates and stuff like that. And so every night, we'd go up, my mom be calling me like, boy, where you at? It's 10, 11 o'clock at night. Mom at the gym, I'm good. She's like, okay, cool. And so like I said, it was 1,000 shots every day, a piece for us. And so that's when I really started shooting 3, and it got to the point I didn't want to do anything else. And so that was just from the work.
So it's funny to hear that story. And what I mean that is when we were growing up, and it hurt a lot of kids because if you were tall, it's like what you said, you were automatically told to get on the block, post up, don't do all that dribbling, don't do all that shooting. And I can remember it was a guy, of course, most people know this, rest in peace to Omar Carter. Omar Carter used to get a lot of flack from high school coaches, like, man, why you got these big guys that you train?
Everybody was a guard.
Yeah,
everybody was a guard.
Out here playing guard skills. And me being a young guy here, my coaches, I'm like, yeah, Omar doing that wrong. But then when I sat down and thought about it, Omar was ahead of his time. Again, he wasn't a fan favorite of a lot of people, but he saw something that we didn't see. He was like, man, we're not putting this guy down here. He's going to get out here on the wing and shoot and dribble and things of that nature. So it's funny to hear you say that. And like you said, it puts you in a disadvantage, but you found a way to turn it into a advantage because of your work ethic. So that's amazing to be able to see. And so it's good. And I guess it's more for our veteran coaches and our seasoned coaches and even our young coaches. You got to be willing to change. Even though something may be tradition or it's always been that way, it's good to just innovate different ways of playing basketball. So, Coach, I'm glad you said that because it's going to help a lot of people out. Coach, I'll talk about it. Let's kind of fast forward to your Jackson State days. Obviously, you played for Coach Wayne Brent. And when you brought that up, when they shut it down in during I guess it's COVID 2020.
2020.
and we were about to win that SWAC. I felt so bad because Coach Brent had been doing this thing, man. Like, of course, being from Jackson, everybody knew him growing up, things of that nature. And sometimes people are more critical on you when you're from an area. And we talked about that in a couple of episodes. So I really wanted that for him. And then when that shut down, I was like, man, because I really felt the way that you all was playing basketball. And I'm gonna let you talk about it more. But again, I didn't know you I knew you from a distance, just being, a supporter. And I really saw the vital role that you played, Coach. And of course, and we're gonna talk about it more when Coach Brent's style and his substitution styles and what he demands on defense and what he demands on offense and his energy. I thought that you were a glue guy that really kept that together, because if we needed something defensively, obviously we know that you could be there, but at times we would struggle shooting the ball in that particular year, and you were a guy that we know could make that shot. And so fans were excited to be able to see you play and see you guys, be successful, because again, we love our Tigers, from all of our sports. So Coach, what I kind of want you to talk about, I want to talk about your time at Jackson State, however you want to go, however you decide to kind of talk about that. And then talk about work with Coach Brent. Coach Brent has kind of been a guy that I kind of always kind of looked up to from a distance. Talked to him a couple times, not in a whole lot of detail, but I watched a lot of his videos or his motivation, or anytime he was like a keynote speaker at our clinics. I took a lot of notes because I really, the biggest thing I took from him was his putting in the work. Like, he was always in the gym. If you played at Callaway High School, Provine High School, you had to get there early. You had to be about business and get it done. I know those things he did those same things at Jackson State. So Coach, talk to us again about your experience at Jackson State and however you want to take that, and just talk to us a little bit about Coach Wayne Brent.
So I'm gonna start off with the story of how I got to Jackson State. And you've been around Coach Brent. He's a real blunt dude, real straightforward. You don't have to sugarcoat with him. So when I was finishing up at Colin my sophomore year, I averaged about 10 points. I was shooting about 45% from three. We had just won 22 games, had a really good sophomore season. And at the time, I was getting some interest from some D1 schools, but I was getting a lot of Division II offers. And I was always a guy, I was kind of real with myself. Like I said, I didn't really dribble the ball a lot. I wasn't an overly athletic guy. I wasn't a high major guy. And I was real myself on that. I wasn't a high major guy. So what I had to do, everybody wants to play at the Division I level. And I wanted that, and I want the opportunity. So I knew I had to specialize and be really, really good at my role. And even with that, I still knew that there was a level for me. And so what I did was I went and I watched a lot of college basketball. And so I keep up with a lot of college basketball. So I went to and emailed schools and sent my highlight tape to schools where I knew I fit, where my talent was good enough to play at that level, and what I brought to the table would be valued. And so I led the country in charges 2 years when I was at junior college. I took 32 charges in a 23-game season my sophomore year. And so Wayne Brent loves charges, and I knew that. And so I was always kind of tasked with Coach Bizot, really great defensive mind, who's the athletic director at Mississippi College. Now he's my coach at Colin. And so I really became a guy that valued the defensive end of the floor. I took pride in guarding the other team's best player and taking those assignments, being help and taking those charges, getting deflections, getting steals, and just playing with a lot of energy. And me and Coach Brent clicked from the first conversation we had because of those things. The stuff I did well, where I was a role player, I was a glue guy, and that was who I was. And everybody doesn't want to recruit role guys. Some coaches just want to kind of get all the talented guys and then figure out their roles once they get them. There's nothing wrong with that. But Coach Brent was more of a guy, I want a guy that knows how to do this already, and that's who I want. So I sent the email out, and if you know Coach Brent personally, he's not good with technology at all. Like, he's got a TikTok and stuff now, and it's really crazy for me to see him on TikTok because, I remember the first day I came to Jackson State, I was like, Coach, I got to print off a paper for my class. Can I use your printer? And he was like, oh, nah, dog. I don't know about the printers and stuff. I don't know about the computers. You have to add those first. and so I'm like, dang. And so the day I went and met with Coach Brent, I sent him an email, and he emailed me back and was like, we playing pickup this Saturday, come by. So I went Saturday to play pickup. They had some guys on visits. They were on official visits and stuff like that. And I had a pretty good day playing pickup, knocked down a couple threes. I was guarding well, stuff like that. So he called me up to the office. And he just told me, so he was like, I don't even check my email. And he was like, for some reason, I just happened to check my email today, and you the first thing that popped up. And I mean, there's nobody but God. Because like I said, he's serious. Like, he doesn't check his email. He doesn't really do technology. So he said he just happened to check his email. He watched the film. He emailed me back immediately. Like, it went 10 minutes after I sent the email. He emailed right back and was like, I want you down here. And so honestly, they were done recruiting at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a 26 on my ACT. And when I got to Colleen, I had like a 3.9 GPA. And so at Jackson State, they got a Phi Theta Kappa scholarship for transfer. And I was a part of an organization called Phi Theta Kappa at Jackson State, Colleen. And so I was ended up getting the Phi Theta Kappa scholarship, and it paid for everything: room, housing, tuition, meal plan. It covered everything. And Coach Brent told me from day one, he was like, I don't care what kind of scholarship you on. Like, if you can play, you can get something done, I'm gonna figure out how to play you. Like, a lot of people don't know that Jay McKinnis went on the athletic scholarship when he first got to Jackson State.
Really?
And he ends up being one of the all-time greats that put on Jackson State jersey.
I didn't even know that.
Jay McKinnis was on a Call Me Mr. scholarship. It was an initiative for Black males that wanted to be teachers when he first got to Jackson State.
Oh,
And literally, like, and that's what he told me. He was like, man, Jay McKinnon, man, he on this type of scholarship. He gonna play. He gonna start next year. I'm like, Coach, well, if you saying you gonna give me an opportunity, I don't have to pay for school. This is where I want to be. And I was never treated like a guy that was on academic scholarship or walk on, however you want to word it. From day one, I was one of the basketball players, and that's all it was. No coach ever treated me differently. If I wanted to get a workout in, coach was there. It was just a blue collar organization. Like, if you ain't want to work, they want the place for you. And so that was right up my alley. So that first year, during the preseason, I had a solid preseason. He calls me in. He's like, look, we got a lot of guards in front of you. And he was like, I'm not saying you're not good enough, but they're older than you and they're a little bit better than you right now. I was like, yes, sir, I understand.
yeah.
He's like, I want you to red shirt, but you're gonna be a part of the 15-man roster and you're gonna still travel everywhere. I want you to be there. I want you to get a feel for everything. I want you to be on the bench. I want you talking to guys. And so I basically was like a player slash manager slash GA for a whole season.
Mm.
Like, I was in all the practices. I did all the conditioning, all the weightlifting. Then when it was time to go on the road, like, Coach Brent made me wear a shirt and a tie, sit on the bench, and he gave me duties every game. Like, hey, D-Will, I want you to keep up with how many offensive rebounds we give up. Like, hey, D-Will, I want you to keep up with how many turnovers we get. And like, I had a task every game, and that was really where the college coaching mind came from. Like I told you, I had already, at Brookhaven and stuff, like my degree in undergrad, I was gonna be a social studies teacher and a coach, like a lot of coaches. Like, that was what I went to school for. But through that year, I started to figure out, like, man, I love this college thing. It's different.
It is.
And so so that year really showed me, and I want to coach at college level. And so that year I redshirted. And so we come into the off season the next year. And so Coach Brent's big on leadership. Like, we had a captain group message for the captains that was separate from everybody else. He would have the captains, in meetings separate from everybody else. He would have lunch with the captains separate from everybody else, because he knew leadership from the teammates was very important. Because he knows that he's going to be tough on us every day. So the leadership has to come from somebody else as well. And so, like I said, I never played a game, and we were voting. And so Coach Brent called me, and he was like, I want you to pick, I think it was 2 guys to be captain, next year. No, it was 4. It was 4. So I named the guys. Dantelius Ross had been a captain for 3 years already. No brainer. Great leader. Khalil Spencer was coming back. That's on the staff at Jackson State now. No doubt, no brainer, great leader. I believe it was Jesse Love, who's another guy that had been in the program 4 or 5 years and played at Murrah High School. No brainer, great leader. So I get to the 4th one, and I'm like, I'm thinking, and this is no knock to any of my teammates, but everybody doesn't have leadership qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, Coach, I don't really want to say myself, but I really think I'm built for what you're looking for out of that spot. And mind you, I hadn't played a single minute the whole year. And he looks at me and starts laughing. I'm like, it's funny, Coach. And he's like, every one of your teammates came in and said the same thing.
That's good.
Like, those the same 4. And so, like, and that was like, I was a captain at Colleen, captain in high school, all that. But it's different to be on a Division I program and not play a single minute, but to have a respect for my teammates, for them to feel like, man, this dude's a leader. And I had never played a minute. And I tell my guys that here now, like, leaders, everybody feels like the leader has to be the best player on the team all the time. That's not always the case. Now it helps if your leader is your best player. It helps a lot,
A whole lot.
but just because you're not the guy that's not taking all the shots, not playing all the minutes, because I was never the guy. Like you said, you watch me at Jackson State. I was never the guy that shot 20 shots. I never had 20 points. That wasn't my role. I was the glue guy. I kept everybody else together. I played defense, and I knocked down occasional open shots. But my teammates knew I did my part enough. One thing Coach Brent was really great at was role allocation. And a lot of guys immaturely would feel like, man, he's putting me in a box. Because like, I mean, he was so blunt, like he's a straightforward dude. He would write down on a piece of paper like Darrian Wilson and mark down everything my role was. Be a leader. That was the first role. It wasn't dribble, go shoot, do nothing. Be a leader, talk on defense, make sure everybody on time for everything, knock down open threes was last. Like that was the least of my role. And he would do that for every player. Like Jay McKinnis, rebound at a high level, block shots at a high level. That was Jay's role. And so we all knew, do your role, anything else is just extra. And so, and like I said, a lot of guys, everybody wasn't able to buy in, and I understand that. But like I said, for us, we had guys that were willing to buy in, and I think that's why we were so successful. When you talk about the year when COVID hit, it was an up and down year. Then we had to fight with Prairie View, and a couple guys got suspended and stuff like that. We came out of that adversity rolling. And we won 7 straight games before COVID hit. And that's really what it was. Guys finally settled into those roles and accepted those roles. I mean, we were super talented. We had Roland Griffin, first team all conference. Tristan Jerry, who ended up being SWAC player of the year. Like, we were talented. Benji Wallace, he was our leading scorer the year before. He comes back, he's our 4th leading scorer. That's how talented we were. Jonas James, one of the best guys in the pick and roll of all time. Dantelius Ross had started 3 years and played for Coach Brent, even in high school. Yeah. And he comes in, has to accept the fact that he's coming off the bench. But we were just all mature enough. Kanan McClellan was another guy, knocked down shots, defend the other team's best player. And Ken Evans from Forest Hill, he was a guy, from Jackson, from Forest Hill, that was a freshman, but he figured out his role. Once we figured that type of stuff out, man, we were just hard to beat. So when we come back the next year, we go undefeated in SWAC play. Like I said, a lot of that I just think had to do with guys buying into their role and Coach Brent being willing to tell guys, this is your role, and if you do this, you're going to play. And like I said, there was a lot of guys that were more talented than me that I may have played more just because I did my role and what was asked.
Man, Coach, that's good to hear, man. And I got so many notes, and I'm gonna try to hit on all of them. But one thing that you said, and those individuals who came to Jackson State had to know that Coach Brent was about playing your roles, because even in high school, he did the exact same thing in high school when he was at Callaway. I mean, even when he had Malik Newman and all those guys, like you could look at the lineup and you knew what those guys are going to do. And I'm talking about Coach, he had probably 12 or 13 guys that could probably leave Callaway and go play for another star to get buckets. But those guys bought into a role, and that's what really excelled their program at Callaway, because he had guys that fit their role, and you knew that. Like, you made everybody, sometimes you knew there was that guy on the team that was going to get the rebounds, the guy was going to be a lockdown. Anytime the dead ball, you're going to come off running and get that sub, and them guys had major energy, and people like, man, how he getting those guys to do that? So it's good to be able to hear the insight of that, Coach, because I want to go back and just really piggyback on what you said earlier about yourself. And you were much better than I was, and I wasn't the most talented. But now that I'm coaching and hearing you, like, those are things that I knew that I could have done if I would have been a little bit more educated and just had a little bit more will to do those things. Because, Coach, you led the nation in charge. Well, was it the nation, or was it in your charge?
I led the country in charge. 2 years in a row.
Think about it, Coach. You led the country in charge, not Brookhaven, not South Mississippi, the country in charge. Coach, I got down here. You shot 1,000 shots, and you learned something at a young age. I'm gonna be a star in my role. I'm gonna be a star in what I do. And then, Coach, you had the grades, you had the GPA, then you developed the blue collar mindset. So, Coach, you are a dream for all coaches from high school, AAU to college, because you did it the right way. And like you said, that was just a blessing that God just really gave you that mindset, coach. And those are the kids that we need. And hopefully if some young guy or some young girl is listening, Coach Wilson is a great example of what it takes, because you don't have to be, you ain't got to be that guy. We all need people to play roles in life. And they're just so important with that. You talked about Jesse Love. Like I coached Jesse when he was in the ninth grade at Murrah, and Jesse was that same type of guy, man. He wasn't super athletic at all, of course. He did his role. He played hard, died on the floor, gave his body for the team. So it was good to be able to see that. And it's so crazy how worlds can kind of connect through individuals. Another thing I liked about what was going on at Jackson State, there was a lot of Jackson guys. It was good to see guys like Jonas James and D. Ross and Ken Evans. And it was just so many other guys that came before them. It was good to see just some Jackson guys playing on the team. And I know Coach Brent took some criticism, like, man, we got too many Jackson guys. But to me, I felt like that brought a little bit more pride, and it was good to be able to see, some guys you watched in high school to be playing now at the college level, coach. So that's amazing, man, to be able to hear that. And I'm glad you shared that, because I hopefully that helps somebody. And again, coach, man, I think you are a model example, especially being a young guy, man. Like, your story is amazing. And, again, I have aspirations to be a college coach as well, but I do know this, and you said that God is in control and he's working this thing out and putting us where we need to be with that. So with that being said, coach, talk to me about when you got that phone call, coach. Some phone calls are good to receive. So coach, talk to me about that phone call when they said, man, you got to be, we're going to bring you on as our assistant coach. Talk to us about that moment, coach. And then second, coach, talk to us about the interview process on the college level. Now, this is something that's new to our followers of the In the Sand podcast, because we talked in detail about how the high school process goes, but we like to know how the college process goes when it comes to hiring. And then I know you all have another assistant coach on staff with you all, and I know y'all made a big sacrifice in a lot of different areas, and you can tap into that or not, but I kind of know your backstory with that, and that tells a lot about you as a person as well. So coach, again, just talk to us about what it was like to get that phone call and say, hey, man, you about to be a college coach. Talk to us again about the interview process, and talk about the other guy, other coach. And again, I'm gonna wait because I don't want to pronounce his name wrong. I know him because we just started following each other on Twitter, and I don't want to disrespect coach at all. And hopefully I can get him on the show as well. So talk to us about that as well.
So I'm a real transparent. I'm a real dude. I actually was sitting in the office at another junior college when Coach Payton called me the first time. And I didn't take the job, but it was kind of the plan to be there. And so Coach Brent actually called me first, because, of course, Coach Payton kind of called Coach Brent first. Like, hey, I've heard about this guy. A couple guys, in the Jackson area. Coach Payton kind of felt like he wasn't able to get the talent in the metro area. And he felt like that was one of the places obviously there's a lot of talent in the metro area, and there was somewhere where he felt like when he was winning, he had a lot of metro area players when they won a state championship, and he thought he lacked that the last couple of years. And so he called around, asking about guys in the metro area that had ties to players in the metro area, like I said, with AAU and stuff like that. And so a couple of people gave him my name. And so, of course, like any other job, he started his vetting process before he actually reached out to me. So he reached out to Shoes Johnson that does the rankings and stuff like that. He reached out to Coach Brent, because Coach Brent and Coach Payton actually coached together at Ole Miss with Rod Barnes. They were assistants together at Ole Miss with Rod Barnes. And so he reached out, like, I heard about this guy that played for you and stuff. And, Coach Brent, kind of validated what everyone else has said as far as my work ethic and my ties to players in the area and stuff like that. So Coach Brent actually called me first. And so he was like, hey, I got a job for you. A guy called. I had already talked to Coach Brent. He knew what I wanted to do. I was kind of looking for a way to get a junior college job. And I know how it is there's a lot of really good high school coaches that maybe don't have the talent to win enough to get a college job sometimes.
There you go.
Because in high school, you just kind of play the hand you're dealt.
You are.
And so, like I said, with my dad being a high school coach, and my dad, he was the guy that tried to get to college level numerous times and just didn't work out for him. Like, there's a lot of high school coaches that are much better than me. And I don't want to use the word stuck, but they're kind of stuck in high school right now because maybe they just don't have the players with them to show how good of coaches they are in everybody else's eyes, and people don't understand basketball. And so everybody, I got a lot of mentors, the coaches that were with me at Jackson State and just guys that I've met throughout the years. So everybody I asked, they were like, if you can get a college job, it doesn't matter how little it pays, you find a way to take it and make it work. If you can get in at the college level, you go ahead and make it happen. Because like I said, I had my teaching license. I got a social education degree. I got a English certification if I need to use. I got a PE certification if I need to use it. So, I was like, I just take a high school job and, be an assistant coach and coach the JV team or coach the junior high, whatever, just get my foot in the door. And they were like, no, if you can go take a college job, figure out how to get it done. And so me being a guy that had coached at AAU, I was like, okay, let me try to figure out some junior college jobs. And so I kind of was making that known to people. Like, I want to come and get a junior college job when I'm done playing. And I had been setting it up, about a year in advance, trying to make that happen. And so schools had reached out to me. And like I said, I was in one school when Coach Brent called me. And so Coach Brent, was like, look, Coach Payton needs this, and that. I think you're the perfect guy. And then at the time I was coaching with Mississippi Express, Rodney Hood's team. And his brother Ricky was the director of the team. And Ricky actually played at Tupelo, not for Coach Payton, but they knew each other from Tupelo. So he called Ricky, and Ricky was like, nah, that's the guy for you and stuff like that. So they all were calling me while I was sitting in the office. I'm like, dang, everybody blowing me up. Like, it was Snacks, Shoes, Coach Brent, and Ricky Hood. And I'm like, dang, like something must have happened. I'm like, man, what's going on for all these dudes to be calling me? So I called all of them back one by one, and they kind of told, and Coach Brent never really calls a lot. So I called him back first. And so he told me the situation, and everybody else kind of told me the same thing. So I talked to Coach Pate that night. He kind of explained to me the situation and stuff like that. Because at the time, there were about 4 or 5 junior college jobs that I was kind of weighing my options, trying to figure out what was the best situation as far as, financially, where I feel like I could be the most successful, where I could feel like I could have the biggest impact and things of that nature. And which head coach I feel like I could learn the most from as well. And so, like I said, I kind of weighed my options for a couple of weeks. I came down to Itawamba, and I'm gonna be honest, with assistant coaches is a little different as far as the interview process, because it's really almost more like recruiting. Like that's kind of how I feel like I was like a recruit again, because really the head coach kind of just tells the administration who he wants. And he says, and so what Coach Pate did, he only had one assistant the years before, and the years he won the state championship here, he had 2 assistants. And so he felt like he needed to get back just because 2 assistants can cover more ground when it comes to recruiting. And like I said, he had cancer 2 seasons ago, and it was actually the year of COVID too. And so he shut it down for the whole year. And so they left his assistant to do everything by himself. And so in junior college, you know how it is, once you kind of have one down year, it kind of sets you up for another bad year. And so that was really kind of the reason for the bad years. And so the other assistant ended up getting a head coaching job elsewhere. So he decided now he wanted to go get 2 young assistants to get on the road and recruit, be in the gym with the guys, be available for the guys. So I came down, I met with the athletic director, talked to Coach Pate, and I think his biggest thing was just making sure we were on the same page as far as expectation, what I brought to the table. I think he just wanted to validate what everybody else was saying. So we went and had dinner the night before, came through, he showed me the campus and all that. We go back to the office, and he just tells me, like, the job is yours to take. I've heard good things about you, and from the conversations, everything seemed to line up. And at the time, Coach Hayslip, who's the other assistant here, Coach Jacob Hayslip, he was a graduate assistant at Western Kentucky. And so he was still deciding if he was going to take the job at the time as well. And so, I told Coach, I was like, can you just kind of give me a week, to weigh my options? I had another interview elsewhere and stuff like that. He's like, I understand. He's like, you're the guy I want, but obviously I can't wait too long. I was like, yes, sir, I understand that. And so, went home, prayed about it, talked to my family. And we all just kind of agreed. Well, I'm gonna be honest, everybody didn't agree, but in my heart and between me and God, I felt like this was the place for me.
Yeah.
And he hadn't ever led me wrong any other time. So I just kind of trusted him. It was a lot of schools that were much closer to Jackson and Brookhaven. And so I'm 5 hours from home now, as far as from Macomb and Brookhaven area, 3 hours from Jackson. But it was the best move for me, no doubt. Like I said, when it comes to Coach Hayslip, Jacob Hayslip, who's our other assistant. I thought I worked hard. Man, that dude works hard. Like, I mean, I tell people all the time, man, this is a 16-hour shift for us most days. Some days more than that. Coach Payton has a couch in his office, and we take a lot of naps on that couch. And I'm not talking about during the day. I'm talking about at 2, 3 o'clock at night, where we got to get back up in a couple hours.
Oh,
Man, but man, the dude's a tireless worker, man. He's actually in the gym working the kid out now. Great with player development and skill development. That's his passion. Being in the gym with guys. Great recruiter. Like I said, man, we tear the roles up. And we tear the roles up. We want to recruit. I mean, I don't think there's a Tuesday or a Friday night where one of us isn't trying to find a game to go to. I mean, he's just great with film work. Like I said, he was a manager and then a GA, so he's really organized. Really loves working hard. Like the guys love him. He loves guys. Man, I couldn't have asked for anybody to kind of get my coaching career started with. Like both of us, this was our first year, and it's not that we just know so much about basketball. It made us have a good year, and we just work. We love the kids, and we put in work, and we're always available. And so I couldn't ask for a better group of guys to work with in this first year.
oh, that's good to hear, man. Again, shout out to Coach Jacob Hayslip, man. Again, I had to hear your name first before I murdered it, man. Because to be honest, I actually had after I met Coach Pate, I had actually met Coach Hayslip again at the clinic this year as well, and he kind of chopped it up with me. And again, what you said to be true, I didn't know the things he was doing, but just the way he communicated, and he talked to me like I was the head coach of a major university or school, and so you can just tell that it didn't matter who you are. He was about building relationships, and I think we may exchange numbers or social media or something like that, but he was a very solid guy. And Coach, I was going to kind of lead to that question, but you already answered it. I'm kind of glad you said it, because the grind in college it's a grind. And I know at JUCO level it's definitely a challenge, because again, it's good that you all have two. I know some schools don't have three coaches, but again, it's good because you got to be able to move around in the state. And obviously, with the rules that we have set up, you got to get some Mississippi guys. So you got to get out there. You still got to get skill development in. You still got to recruit. You still got all your other tasks and duties at hand. And then you still just got to live life. And so we often talk about it on the podcast of finding balance, because you have to find balance in this. And I know with you being so far away from home, 5 hours, and doing all that, those things make a difference. And it's good that you're doing this young, Coach. And to be honest, man, I wish I would have had some of the knowledge that you had, because just listening to your story and your relationships that you build over time, putting yourself in the right position and planning ahead, puts you where a lot of guys want to be. And you said it, Coach. Stuck is a good word. There's a lot of high school guys, and I like that you were humble, Coach. But again, Coach, you got a lot of knowledge with you. So again, kudos to you. And I do know a lot of high school guys that are trying to get college jobs, and it gets and even some of your most successful high school coaches right now are, it's hard for them to get a good job. Again, I know Coach Carlisle at Yazoo City, man, he does a great job. I know he's got big aspirations. I know Coach Tadlock and Raymond does a good job, and they have championships. Now there are other coaches, but I just said that because I know most people recognize their name and they recognize the championships, and I know that they're doing it. Like I look at Coach Miller down on the coast. He just got when this is recording, he just got the Mississippi Gulf Coast job. And of course, he had college experience, college ties in the Ole Miss. But look how long it took him to get back. So it's really God's plan. And I'm saying that too, and to remind myself, be where your feet are, as all coaches say.
Absolutely.
Enjoy this moment, because in the grand scheme of things, if God wants you to be in the NBA, wants you to be a college job or work at your high school, you're happy. So I'm blessed to be at Richland High School. Obviously, we have our struggles here and there, had a tough season, and those are the things that sometimes weigh on you. And you mentioned that having a tough season as a coach can weigh on you mentally, because you're trying to get back to where you're supposed to be, because the work you're putting in, the hours you're putting in. And our guys, we're back working now. I got a young team, man. I probably have one senior upcoming this year and a lot of sophomores and juniors. So we're still going to be young, but we still working hard every single day in that manner of it. Coach, I got a couple more questions, and then we'll kind of get into some things, because your story has been great. So I'm gonna kind of merge some questions together. We talked about skill development. That's very, very key. So I'm gonna come back to that question, but I'm gonna tie it in a little bit later on in the question I'm going to ask. Coach, obviously I know that you follow the lead of your head coach when it comes to like the defensive philosophies and your offensive system. So again, I want you to just kind of tie in your beliefs on what you like or kind of what you all are doing defensively. Obviously, I know you can't tell us everything because I know some of your your rivals are watching. But talk about a little bit about defensive philosophy, and then, Coach, talk about offense. Again, a lot of our supporters of the podcast like to hear about creating offensive possessions because this is the time I like watching in the NBA because the NBA every possession matters, and it's so good to be able to see the ATOs. It's so good to be able to see your baseline out of bounds, and it's so good to be able to see how the NBA flows from offense to defense. And again, they know the system so well that the offense is already like it moves like this. And so, Coach, talk us about the philosophy of the offense of what you like to do, what you all like to do in this section of was talking more about basketball.
When it comes to defensive philosophy, first, I was like I said, I played for Wayne Brent, uh, and even playing for Coach Bills out at Coach Lynn, then playing at high school in Brookhaven for my dad the first 3 years, and then playing for Coach Jimmy Butler my last year. Man, like defense has just been ingrained in me since I started playing basketball. And obviously now Coach Brent, it's another level of defense that's expected. But that helped me when it came to getting here at Itawamba Community College.
Yeah.
Especially because I don't know if it's because him and Coach Payton coached together at Ole Miss, and maybe Rob Barnes kind of helped them set the foundation for their philosophies.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of similarities. I mean, there's ball pressure. Both guys like they both pick up 94 feet, so it's an easy transition for me into Coach Payton's defensive philosophy from the defensive philosophy I had and they were ingrained in me by our coaches at Jackson State. Um, I think when it comes to defensive philosophies, when it comes to man to man, most people have the same man to man principles. You want ball pressure. For us, we're big on denying passing lanes, and then being in help 2 passes away, taking the charge when guys drive, being there when guys back couldn't be able to help our guys because we're denying so hard. And so all those really lined up for me pretty much most of my life. One of the biggest things that I took away from Coach Brent and that Coach Payton does a really great job of as well, the actual game planning to help your defense in game. Uh, like I said, a lot of the long nights came from us doing our best to figure out what all can we take away from the opposing team. I think our staff at Jackson State, Coach Brent, Coach Burke, Coach Dixon, Coach Woodall, they did an outstanding job of preparing us for games. Like we would be playing games, and we would be basically calling out the other team's plays and their actions. That's how, like when we saw the initial action to get into it, we knew what they were running. So that helps you a lot defensively when you know what the other team's doing. If you look at our, the years when we were at Jackson State, top field goal percentage defense in the country one year, top field goal percentage defense in the SWAC, always pretty much top 2 or 3 in every defensive category in conference play. And the year we won the championship, we were top 10 to 15 in a lot of defensive categories. And that comes from a lot of preparation. Obviously, we had dudes that defended and took pride in defending. And like I said, a lot of that just comes from the expectation that's set every day. Like when it comes to defensive philosophy, it's not as much schematics as some people like to put in it for us. It's not a lot of schematics. It's just the willingness and the effort and the buy-in on the defensive end. That's really the difference maker for us here defensively. I know at one point in the season, we looked at the stats at Christmas break. Like I said, we had that long month off during Christmas break, and so we really looked at some stats. We're top 10 in the country in steals, top 10 in the country in opponent field goal percentage. In opponent field goal percentage, top 10 in the country in opponent 3-point percentage. That was why we were winning. And what they did was it allowed us to get out in transition a lot because the transition into, talking about our offensive philosophies is transition first for us. Like that's number one. We want to be able to score as many points in transition as we possibly can. We talked earlier, a lot of older coaches can be set in their ways. Coach Pate is not like that at all. He actually kind of, obviously, like you said, our offensive philosophy was still his, but he kind of nudged me and gave me the role to really kind of coordinate the offense for us this year. and just kind of bring a lot of ideas. And obviously, me and Coach Chase both had ideas as far as ways we could revamp the offense and make it a little bit more modern. And so, if you look at us this year, we don't really run a lot of plays, but there's a lot of concepts to what we do offensively. Like to space the floor, we had 4 guys that shot above 40% from three. So we were really able to space the floor. And understand this offensive philosophy means nothing if you don't have dudes. Like I think Jerome Tang said it best while Kansas State was making their run. You got to have dudes, and that's why recruiting is so important. You got to have dudes.
Got to.
We can draw up the best. We can draw up the best plays in the world. If it kicks to a guy that can't shoot it, it don't mean anything. And so we had dudes that were really good at breaking the defense down and going to get their own baskets outside of offense. So they just made our offensive ability go up a lot, obviously. But a lot of our concepts were drive, guys help kick, and simple basketball, but it's stuff that everybody does not understand, and we really harped on it and we really emphasized it. A lot of coaches say you are what you emphasize. That was one of the big things we emphasized was get paint touches. We score at the rim if we can. If not, we kick it out for threes. 3 things, if I could just hit on 3 points, I guess, for offensive philosophy. We always want to shoot more free throws. We want to make more free throws than other team attempts. That's a big part of our offensive philosophy. And so with that just comes from putting a lot of pressure on the rim. Okay. And so what that does is you're putting guys in foul trouble. You're putting pressure on the rim. You're getting layups at the rim. So you're getting easy baskets. And so that's upping everybody's field goal percentage. We actually had 4 guys to be above 50% this year from the field. And so that's another, just another stat where we're just putting pressure on the rim. And like I said, another thing, when we drive, we draw, we kick. And we led the conference in 3-point percentage. We didn't lead in made threes, but we led in 3-point percentage right at about 40% from three almost, because everything is a drive, draw, kick for open three. And as well as guys shoot the ball these days, that's a layup. And we got guys that get in the gym. These dudes get in the gym. And so it's a lot of hours that are spent. So when they're taking those wide open kick out threes, that's as good as a layup for a lot of our guys. And then, last, like I said, the ball movement, people movement is key. Cutting with a purpose, setting screens with a purpose, curling off the screens with a purpose, setting your guy up, and everybody kind of being on one accord. Like I said, if you watch this, there's a lot of free flow and continuity offense. It's not a lot of set plays where we're saying the ball has to go to this guy, the ball has to go here, the ball has to go here. It's not a lot of that. The only thing we ask is that you play together, and when you drive, you get a layup. If not, we drop it out to our bigs. We had 2 bigs that shot above 60% from the field. And then if not, we kick it out for open threes. And now there's the confidence in our guys to say, hey, when a guy drives and kicks it, you shoot it. When you're open, we want your feet set. We want the ball gone. And so our players had a lot of freedom offensively, but it was freedom with a lot of structure. Like I said, it's more concepts than actual sets. And I think it was really good for us. Like I said, now if you don't have dudes, it may not work. You may need to call some more sets and put the ball where you want it. But because we were able to recruit some really, really talented guys that work their butt off, that are great ball handlers, great shooters because of their work, and you don't have to put them in a box. You can really give them a leash and say, hey, just go make the right basketball play. And like I said, and obviously with the transition, for us, you got to get stopped to get out of transition. And that was something, like I said, defensively, I felt like we were really good, and that led to us getting a lot of extra points.
Yeah, Coach, that's key, man. Of course, I know 2 guys you got on that Lee and the younger Marshall. Man, I saw those guys play when they were in high school, so it was good to be able to see those guys. And Coach, game planning is important with that. And of course, man, shout out to Coach Burke and Coach Dixon, man. They're doing some good things. I know they're not at Jackson State anymore. Man, we were kind of in school at Jackson State together. And I gotta shout them out, man. Just say something about those 2 guys, man. Again, it's good to be able to see. We in class together, and sometimes you don't realize the greatness in people because you see them every single day. So I'm just excited. I follow Coach Dixon all the time in this training, but again, just tell us a little bit about those guys, man. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention them.
I'll just start with Coach Burke, and that's my guy. Me and Coach Burke talk very often, usually 2-3 times a week. He's probably, he's definitely a guy that I consider a mentor. He was a guy that when I was trying to decide which school would be the best fit for me to go be an assistant coach at, he was a guy I really leaned on really heavily. Like, Coach, what do you think I should do? And he would never tell me what he thought was best, but he would just give me information on everybody. Like, look, if you do this, this is what could happen, or if you do this, this is what's gonna happen, stuff like that. Even as a player, when I was playing for him, he knew I wanted, and like I think one of the highest compliments I think somebody can give you is to say you remind me a lot of myself. Because I think we all think, pretty highly of ourselves. And if you know Coach Burt, he thinks really highly of himself. He's one of the most confident dudes I've ever been around in my life. But I mean, so for him to say like, man, you remind me a lot of myself, and that's a big time compliment for me. And so like he was a guy, him and Coach Woodall especially, when I kind of told them what I wanted to get into, because I had that COVID year, and so I came back to play the COVID year. And originally, before I decided to come back to COVID year, I was thinking about trying to go find a job at a junior college then, before I came back to play the extra year. And so once I did go back, those guys really took me up under the wing and showed me how they do their scouting reports. Or like even Coach Burt, something as simple as, he would be in charge of our hotels and our meal plan, our meals and stuff like that on the road when we travel. So he said, look, D. Will, so like when I call this hotel, this is how I negotiate for us to get a good rate at this hotel. And like that's the stuff, everybody knows the basketball part. The X's and O's, that's the easy part. I expressed to them the stuff I wanted to learn as far as the college level was the business side and the day in, day out, the preparation stuff. So they showed me how to use Fast Scout and how they come up with the scout reports, what they look for in scout reports. Like there was a couple of times I go sit in Coach Woodall's office and he would we do the scout report, not together, but he just showed me how he does it. And, he was like, hey, what you think about this? Or I say, hey, coach, what you think about this? And I mean, that's really where me being kind of coach on the floor, like people like to say, that's where that came from, because I was there when the game plans were being put in place. And then Coach Dixon, so when me and Coach Brent first talked about me coming to Jackson State, he kind of passed it to Coach Dixon to go ahead and make it happen. And so Coach Dixon's the one that kind of set me up and helped me and guide me through which scholarship to apply for, and help me make sure I got it and stuff like that. And then he was my position coach. Every position had their own assistant coaches they kind of reported to and stuff like that. So he was the guy that worked me out all the time and put me through shooting drills. He was the guy that really pushed me with the on court stuff. He always would tell me like, you don't shoot the ball enough. You don't shoot the ball enough. And he was just a really big confidence booster for me. So like I said, both of them are guys I still talk to this day. And they helped me out a lot. I still call and lean on them. I call Coach Woodall. Coach, we're getting ready to play against this team. Do you think this will work? Or what do you think, about this? And I still bounce ideas off of them. And I got guys that I'll forever be indebted to. And I hope they're in my life for the rest of my life.
Man, that's good to hear, man. Like you said, Coach Burke, man, hey, when you're a capper, man, you got to be confident, man. You got to be able to move your shoulders, man.
He ain't shy about it at all. He's not shy about it at all.
Yeah, and man, Coach Dixon, man, he did something that a lot of people don't really give him a lot of credit for, man, playing on the football team and on the basketball team. And I ain't talking about just holding the helmet or not getting the game. Like, he did work on both of them. So to be in class with him, man, and see him, man, he struggled to get in there sometime, man. He'd be so tired, man, coming off that football field. We had a late evening class, but he was consistent getting there and getting the most. Because at that time, man, he was balling on the football field. So one of the most popular kids on campus, or the popular young men on campus, but still down to earth, man. So I'm glad to be able to see those guys. And, obviously I wanted all of them to still be at Jackson State, but we know how things happen. But the thing about it, they didn't let them stop them. They kept on rolling, kept on moving. And I was excited for Coach Burke to be able to move on, man, because I knew he still wanted to be at J-State. But, sometimes when transitions happen, sometimes it's a little bit better. And again, the guys at Jackson State, Coach Williams, of course, Coach Trey Johnson, man, I grew up down the street from them. Those are the guys I know specifically, man. I know the other guys like Coach Woodall and Coach Adams on staff. So, we still support what we do. Coach, again, I'm such a person that want to learn a lot, and I know I need to go to my fast break questions. So again, I'm going to ask these questions, and I'm going to be super transparent, because these are the things that I often ask myself is like, how would I do those if I'm on a college staff? And those two things are recruitment, coach. And again, we can keep it short, but again, talk to us, because to me, in this parliament, it may be where I struggle, and I don't mind saying it. I don't know what I would say or what I would do to get a kid to come, because again, me saying I would do this, do this, do this, I don't know if that fits in my personality box, and maybe it does though. And then rotations, coach, and you said it. it's not many guys like you, coach, and there's not many guys that'll play and you know and not get in or say this is my role. I'm going to rebound, charge, and play good defense. So, coach, and especially man, when you got them dudes, like that's tough. Like I often think about, I don't know how the head coach Calipari did that platoon system that year when he had Booker and all them guys because man, Booker, you know, man, he came off the bench and I know the business side of it because the twins that year they had been there, more experienced. So I knew that probably was a hard sell to get Booker to come off the bench, but I think Booker understood just the respect and the older factor. So, coach, how do you just manage rotation, especially in the generation we live? Because if you're not playing me, school down the road looks good to me. So those are the two things that I kind of want to just pick your brain about.
So when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to both of those questions, this is still year one for me. So I'm just like you. I'm still trying to learn. But through my first year experience, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Through my first year experience, and I'll just talk about how the recruiting went last year and how it was different this year. Obviously, last year I didn't get the job till April. And so at the time, Coach Payton, his assistant before, they had already signed a couple of guys, but we still had about 6 spots to fill. And so luckily, I was just really familiar with the state already. And I was familiar with some guys that were available. And I'm telling you, I'm a little crazy. I got some crazy faith. I knew I was going to have a chance for a junior college job. So I was going to high school games like on Tuesdays and Fridays, even when I was at Jackson State, to just figure out who were some of the top guys in the state. Because obviously I had coached AAU and stuff, but obviously there's other guys out there too. And it's crazy. After by the time I got the job in April, most of my AAU guys had already signed to other junior colleges or signed Division One. And so one of the things was like, oh yeah, I already got ties to these dudes. I can just bring them with me. I had to go find some guys. And you know how it is when it's your first year, and which obviously it was my first year. So people will say, well, you didn't have a chance to go recruit. So it really ain't on you. I'm not the type of guy that's looking for bailouts and looking for excuses. I'm like, man, I want to figure out how to get it done. I want to be able to win and help Coach Payton win now. And so, like I said, he had already signed some really good, talented guys. One guy, Chris Midden, that already played the Mississippi Alabama game. It was really good for us this year. And so now my job was just come in and kind of fill in the pieces with guys that I kind of knew. There was a couple guys I had already texted before I knew which job I was taking. And I was like, look, I don't know which job I'm taking, but if I get it, I want you with me. And for some of them, they're like, man, who this crazy dude? And so it didn't work for all of them. But some of them kind of had enough faith in me to say, okay, cool, coach, let me know where you're going. And some of them even waited to see where I was going before they made their decision of where they were going to go to school. And so, like I said, it was really good for me this first year to already kind of build those ties and know what I wanted to do. So I wasn't coming in blind. This year, different, obviously, because now we got a whole recruiting cycle, a whole season to go through. For me, man, recruiting is just about it's just like dating. How much effort are you willing to put in to this young lady, young man? Like, it's really not much of a difference. It's just cultivating relationship. And this isn't a hard place to sell. Once we get dudes on campus here at Itawamba Community College, it's not a hard place to sell as far as the campus, the facilities. That part's not hard at all. It's not. I mean, they put $16 million into this arena. That's not hard to sell at all. And so the biggest thing for us was we wanted to be able to identify the guys we wanted early. We really wanted to be able to identify who was going to be our top priority guys before the season ever started. And we started working those guys early and often. And like I said, with us being young, me and Coach Hayes, neither one of us have, a family down here. It's just us. Like, we live in a house together. So it's just us. And so it was nothing for one of us to say, hey, let me go hit the coast. I'm going to hit North Mississippi. Or let's go to Jackson. You go, down to DeSoto County or something. Go up to DeSoto County. Whatever it was, we were just always ripping and running. And it didn't matter what time of the day it was. And we didn't allow it to pull away from the guys we had here. Like, there'll be days where we'll go recruit all day, come back 6, 7 o'clock, and we got 5 or 6 guys in group workouts. And so, like, I think that just came from youth and us being able to do that and being available to our guys. And so, like I said, the biggest thing was just identifying who we want, making them understand how they fit. College basketball is all about fit. And so helping them understand, and that was the thing too, we didn't just go after everybody that was ranked top 10 in shoes rankings. And I think shoes does a really good job with the rankings, but guys got to fit, and guys got to fit with what we do, and they got to fit with each other, and what we got coming back, because we got a really good core of guys coming back this year. And so I felt like we did a really good job as a staff of identifying the guys that we felt like were the top guys in the state and the top guys that fit us. I mean, we just worked. It was nothing for us to play Monday. Then Tuesday night, we're in somebody's gym. And like I said, it was just easy to kind of court those guys that we knew we wanted. And we were just able to make it happen. We didn't have to do anything, under the table. We didn't have to do anything illegally, unethically. It was just working, building relationships. Because, I mean, that's really what it's all about when it comes to recruiting. It's just building relationships where parents, number one, and the player trust you. And obviously, like we talked about, that's bigger than basketball. And when it comes to just taking care of kids, I don't think any staff in the state does a better job than we do. And so then we talk about rotations. I think the experience I had coaching AAU really helped a lot with the rotations, because rotations, there's a lot of ego management, especially in AAU where everybody's kind of playing for a scholarship. Everybody's the top guy on their team, especially with the team we had with Mebo. We were able to really get a lot of top guys in the state from all over the state, and even a couple guys from Alabama. And so I really had to figure out, how do I manage all these guys that are used to averaging 20, 25 points and get them to kind of buy in, and maybe you got to come off the bench, or maybe you don't get to shoot every shot. And like I said, a lot of it is just buy-in. And so this group this year made it easy as far as the buy-in, because they love seeing each other be happy, and they love seeing each other succeed. And that's really what it boils down to. Luckily, I haven't had to have a conversation with a guy because they're like, man, I ain't playing enough. We ain't had a problem this year. And a lot of it had to do with why we were successful. We didn't have a lot of egos. This is one of the first teams I've ever seen where the whole team stayed together the whole year. Nobody quit. Nobody, got ran off. Nobody got kicked off the team. Like, literally, everybody was still here, and they just cheer for each other. We got so many pictures. My favorite pictures that our social media people take is the pictures of the bench after somebody else does something on the court. Like, our guys are up, they're jumping around, they're happy for each other. And when you got teams like that, those are teams that are successful. Usually, if you're trying to figure out how do I keep this guy happy because he's not playing a lot, that's usually the team that you're going to have problems on, because guys are playing for each other. There's a lot of selfish ambitions. But like I said, we didn't have that problem this year. I hope it's something I never have to run into. I'm sure I will at some point. But I think Coach Brent kind of set the tone for my coaching career with that. It's like, if guys don't buy in, that's not the guys you're going to win with anyway. If guys aren't willing to buy in and seeing other guys be successful and seeing the team be successful based off of what the coach feels like is best for the team, it's going to be hard to be successful anyway. And I mean, you can't please everybody. I mean, if we could play all 15 of our guys, I feel like all 15 of them are deserved. But that's just not realistic. And so I think when it comes to rotations, you do have to be fair. I think you do have to sprinkle guys minutes and make sure that you do keep them happy, to keep them bought in. But when you got guys that really don't care about how much they play, they just want to win, they make it really easy.
Coach, I thank you for sharing that, because those are major things, man. Because recruitment is major, especially at our level with JUCO. But you have to be able to choose. You have to have a certain amount of individuals from Mississippi, and then, Coach, I know you can reach out, and of course, being able to reach out of state, there has to be some challenges, in and of itself, with having relationships. And then rotations are always major. So, Coach, thank you for sharing that, man. Again, that helps me a little bit. It's kind of different a little bit on what I thought. But again, it's just amazing. Kudos to you. It's just already working there before you had it, man. So that's definitely living by faith, man. And you wear your faith on your sleeve, man. And that's good and encouraging to be able to hear. All right, Coach, we're going to get you out of here, man. We're going to have our fast break questions. Again, this has been a growing part of the show where fans kind of really, or those who support the show, they really love this part of the podcast. So these are questions we just kind of randomly ask and just kind of pick your brain about it. So, Coach, here's the first one. You get one player in the NBA to start a franchise with, and this is one player currently playing. Coach, which player are you choosing and why?
I got to go Giannis.
Okay.
Because you get an MVP caliber guy and a defensive player of the year caliber guy all in one. You're gonna be able to play him at the 3, you can play him at the 4, you can play him at the 5, he can kind of be your point forward. That's the type of guy you gotta build your team around.
All right, Coach. Again, I like Giannis. Somebody else chose Giannis as well. I'm not sure who I would build around right now. But again, I like what you said because Giannis gives you so much. I'm trying to think of a guy that I possibly could build around. It's tough because a lot of guys that I like, they're older, man, and I know it's kind of hard to build
Yeah.
around there because it's amazing to see what LeBron's doing. Of course, KD's doing this thing, so I got to think about that question. Next fast break question, Coach. What's the most memorable game you've ever watched or even played in?
Played in gotta be we played when Coach Mo was at Alabama State and we played them to clinch the SWAC championship on our home floor. And the girls, the women's team, they clinched the SWAC regular season for the second time back to back the same night against Alabama State.
Man, I think that's pretty cool, Coach. Here's a question we ask all our fans, Coach. What's your NBA all-time starting 5?
At the point, I gotta go Steph. At the 2, I'll go Jordan. At the 3, Kobe. 4, Bron. 5, Shaq.
All right, Coach. Say that again. Let me write that down, man. I always make to write the lineup down. Say it again.
I gotta go. I'm gonna go Steph at the 1. I'm gonna go Jordan at the 2, Kobe at the 3, LeBron at the 4, Shaq at the 5.
You know, that's funny, man. Somebody else had the exact same lineup, and I'm not sure who it was. But to be honest, now this is the 3rd time Kobe has been chosen. In all of these episodes, nobody has chosen Kobe a lot of times. And again, when I know Coach Tadlock and somebody else put LeBron at that 4, man, and that's amazing because again, that gives you versatile to your lineup. But that's an amazing lineup, man. A lot of people choosing Steph over Magic. In that manner of it, of course, Jordan has been consistent. Like I haven't asked one coach, and he's been on everybody's list. LeBron and Steph are right there, being on everybody's list. Shaq has been there a couple times, but Jordan has been there every single time. Coach, here's a different one. We haven't asked anybody this question yet, Coach. What's your top 5 hooping shoes of all time, Coach?
Ooh, top 5 all time. I love KD's. Gotta go KD's at 1. Kobe's at 2. I'm a big Nike guy, so it's gonna be all Nikes. This gonna sound crazy. I loved hooping in 10s when I was at Jackson State. We beat Alcorn one time, and they bought us everybody a pair of 10s. And some of my teammates just like wore them just like his shoes, like his street shoes. But like that was probably my favorite pair to hoop in was the 10s. I like the Giannis's. I like the Giannis's now, and I like Paul George's. I probably would have put Paul George's higher. I just forgot, but I like the Paul George's.
Man, that's a pretty good lineup, Coach, and I see some consistency on why you do some of those.
Kyrie got to go in before Giannis is. I forgot. I love Kyrie.
Kyrie or the Young, okay.
I don't know if they're gonna keep making Kyries or not, but the Kyrie is already out. I got to go with Kyrie's.
Man, that's funny, man. We might need to keep all our Kyries, man, because those probably gonna be legendary, especially if they don't bring them back, man.
And I keep looking down because I got like my hooping shoes that I use when I'm working out. I got them right here at my desk, so that's why I keep looking down, trying to see what I got to figure out which one's my favorite.
And Coach, man, I love when y'all had those Jordans. And no lie, Coach, when y'all got them, man, that was cool to be able to see my college, laced out in Jordans. And Coach, I know this may be unpopular, man. It was tough when they changed Under Armour. I'm like, man, Jackson State, we have been wearing Russell for so long. I'm looking at everybody. I'm like, man, we got to do something with the swag. Man. We been Russell forever. So we finally got that Nike contract, man. I see you got the Nike there, symbol, man, J's. I said, man, and then we went to Under Armour. I was like, ugh. I mean, I got it. Again, I'm like you. I'm a Nike guy, man. But the thing I did see consistent about the shoe lineup that you chose is the lightweight. And of course, as they say, it's not necessarily an ankle shoe or a low top shoe, but the KDs and the Kobe's, man, light, but they protect your foot so well, and the cushion is amazing. I like the Giannis, man. I got a pair of the Giannis ones and maybe the twos because they was on sale on Nike.com. I try to buy the shoes when they're on sale, but they are good feel. And the PGs are good, man. I got the first PGs, man, and they were amazing, man. I wish I would have still had them because they was the navy blue and red ones. And of course, my school now is navy blue and red, and I'd have been killing them with that, man. Two players, coach. Who you got, man? And I know Trae Young been coming under fire lately. Name on the trading block, which is kind of rare to hear. But you going with Trae, ice cold Trae, or you going with Donovan Mitchell? Trae Young or Donovan Mitchell?
That's tough. I gotta go Spider. I love Donovan Mitchell. I gotta go Spider. I love Trae Young. Even like when Trae, like I said, I'm more of a college basketball guy than an NBA guy when it comes to just watching. So what Trae Young did at Oklahoma was special. But I gotta go Donovan Mitchell though. I gotta go Donovan Mitchell.
And that's crazy though. He was in the same class with Malik Newman, and man, he wasn't even an All-American. And no shade of Malik, man. Malik is my guy. He's a Jackson guy. Sometimes it's just a fit for you. It's not, but I was really just saying it to really put shade on, not put shade, but to shine a light on Donovan Mitchell. And it's kind of like what you said. It don't matter where you start, it's where you finish. And again, I think Malik needs a chance, man. He's a high level guy.
No doubt, he's a pro for sure. He's
yeah,
an NBA pro. He's an NBA guy.
He is, man. And he put on for Jackson, man. He gave us a good spotlight. So, man, shout out to Malik Newman. Coach, favorite city to visit?
Man, I gotta say Atlanta just because with AAU we go, it seems like every other weekend. I will say we played at Denver one time, and that was the only time I ever been played at the University of Denver. And Denver, Colorado is beautiful. Like if I could go one place, definitely be Denver. Definitely be Denver. But I gotta say Atlanta, that's like my second home right now.
Man, Atlanta, I know y'all spend a lot of time. Atlanta is a pretty good city, man. I like it. It's close. It reminds you, it kind of reminds me of home because there's a lot of people who have kind of transitioned there and you kind of know individuals. And I heard Denver is nice, man. I know a lot of my Jack State fans, don't like it, but my brother-in-law, he lives, I think, in Colorado, Denver, and I'm trying to maybe go to a game, man. Again, I know Dion with Coach Prime, of course. I know he's not with us anymore, but I did like some of the philosophies, the business side, the advocacy for different things. Were pretty good. So I don't watch it as much, but I still kind of want to be able to, still kind of support because at the end of the day, if he does well and successful, that helps, and not making a race thing, but that helps the African American community out for a coach to get a national championship and things of that nature. And again, we're here to support all of our, everybody. So I'm looking forward to that. Coach, last question. Your all-time coaching staff, you get to choose 5 guys to be on your staff. Of course, you can't choose your coaches presently. So no Coach Pate. No coach Hayslip, so you can't choose those guys, but your all-time coaching.
So let me ask you this. Are you just saying like just my 5 best coaches, or if I can coach with them?
You can coach with them, man. You can coach with them, man. You the lead, man. You want to bring 5 guys with you, man.
Okay.
Who's top 5?
Okay. I think I'm going to go Kelvin Sampson as the head coach. It's going to probably be all college guy. I go Kelvin Sampson. Wayne Brent, associate head. Coach K, Tom Izzo, and Scott Drew from Baylor.
Coach, you are a defensive guy. Man, like I'm looking at the line. I'm like, man, Coach, them some dudes that really believe in getting it done on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, Izzo is a legend, of course. Sampson, I love Sampson, man, with the rebounding, man. I try to get my kids. I said, dog, if y'all would just focus on getting some offensive rebound, you would beat most teams because most kids do not box out. I'm like, man, and I had to shout it out to my brother Justin. He put me on, but man, Houston gets so many rebounds. It's crazy.
I really like at some point, whether it's this summer or at some point, I really want to go sit in a Houston Cougar practice. Like that's something I really want to go do. here really soon if I can. I really want to go sit in a practice. I want to go for like a week. I don't want to go. I want to go for like 2 or 3 days. I want to just go for one practice. Like I really want to see because like you don't just get guys to play like that. That's not something they've been doing. And I got to go Shaka Smart somewhere in there. I know I already said my five. I'm a big Shaka Smart fan though. So if he could be on there, if he could slide in somewhere in a support staff role or something, I got to get Shaka Smart up
Yeah, Shaka do his thing. I know he haven't had as much success, of course, where it was. Was it he was at well, he was at
there.
what?
Well, I mean, he's at Marquette right now. They won their tournament in the Big East,
That's true.
and they maybe got put out a little bit earlier than he would have liked as far as the NCAA tournament, but. Nah, I mean, he had, it was a rough at Texas a little bit, but
That's what it was.
Texas was a little rough. But nah, I'm a huge Shaka Smart fan. I actually, Keyshawn Bizet, I don't know if you may remember him. He played at Lawrence County, then he played at Mississippi State. We were really close. We're still really close. He actually took an unofficial visit to Texas, and I went with him. And so I was able to, I mean, I didn't talk a lot, obviously, but I was able to kind of see Shaka Smart in his element for real. And then we played Marquette my last year at Jackson State. And so we practiced in their practice facility the night before. And so, how guys talk about culture and how you build culture, how you emphasize what your culture is and stuff like that. Man, like they got all their defensive philosophies all on the wall. They actually left their practice board up. And so I was able to see all of the things that they chart throughout their practices. Like how many deflections guys get, how many high fives guys give, like stuff like that. And they like really, you see it when they play, like, yeah, like they do this every day. And it shows like place. I just love seeing stuff like that.
Man, I would love to see that too, because it's amazing what the college, programs do at every level, because they do some amazing things. And you said it earlier, you got to have the staff to be able to do that. But charting those things means a lot. Elections are major too, man. It's so many. Again, basketball is so amazing, man. And this is why I like the podcast. I like talking to young guys like yourself, veteran coaches, because we could talk about deflections, we could talk about taking charges, we can talk about how many times individual can keep your opponent out the paint, we could talk about rim touches. It's so much. We can talk about getting down the floor, scoring within the first 10 seconds. We talk about pressure, defense. I love the game of basketball, man. Coach, this is our closing segment. We call it the last shot, where you give you an opportunity to just kind of wrap the show up. So Coach, go ahead and take your last shot.
One of my high school baseball coaches, his favorite phrase was "Everything you do affects everything you do." And at the time, he told me that when I was in 7th grade, that was the first time I ever heard it, and it seemed super cliche. But as I've gotten older and stuff like that, man, that's real. Everything you do affects everything you do. I tell my guys all the time, the same way you approach the classroom, the same way you approach your day-to-day in practice, the same thing that yields the results once we get on game night. So like, everything you do affects everything you do. I'm a firm believer in that. That's something I carry out day to day.
Coach, I like that, man. Everything you do affects everything you do. Coach, what a wonderful episode, man. I'm grateful, man, that you just kind of blessed the podcast with some great information. Coach, I'm excited to see what the Lord has for you, man. Your preparation, your story, your journey. Coach, I got every coach I have on, I got a page full of notes. So again, it's another page I'm going to add to my notes. And I'm just excited to see your future, brother, man. You got a lot going on. As I said earlier, man, I'm going to try this next season. I want to get out and try to take In the Sandbox on the road, as I call it, try to go to some of these games and watch some of you all in action. So, Coach, man, hopefully, man, we can link back up, man, and just talk, or I can just sit down and just watch your excellence. But I appreciate your time, because for you to take time out of your busy schedule, you probably, when we get off this podcast, you probably gonna end up doing some more work or catch you some snooze.
I got 3 guys waiting to work out right now. They just waiting for us to get done.
Know what I'm saying? So then I'm holding up the progress, man. But it means a lot, man, to come on the podcast, man, and show love, man. And I appreciate that. So again, all our followers of the In the Sand podcast, what you can, man, please support ICC, to support what Coach is doing there. Continue to support the podcast by liking, giving a thumbs up, and sharing. And until next time, Also, too, before I forget, make sure you check my IG page as well. Again, we have different organizations that we help, donate money to, so we can use this platform to help others in need. So again, before we leave, as I always say, be nice, be kind to someone. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.